Welcome to Booked All Night Season 2. Each week, Jess, Katy, and Maggie launch into new worlds, discover amazing characters, and bring you the best bookish discussions under the stars. We're a cozy little corner of the internet, so be sure to leave a comment and join the polls after each episode. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss a chapter. Alright, my little Libranauts, grab a seat, grab a book, and join us as we explore some new pages.
Okay, oh boy, oh goodness, oh my, I finished these chapters like 2 minutes ago, and I am panicking.
I told you.
God, you must feel so vindicated. My God.
I do. Listen, I trust my gut in real life, and I gotta trust my gut while reading.
800 pages of trusting your gut has led to this, the most ultimate betrayal by a man. Ugh.
I mean, I did have my doubts, like at the end of book 1 with the love triangle.
Uh-huh.
I was just like, okay, well, maybe. Like, I want this, so maybe I'll trust it. But then, I don't know, just something was like, don't trust him. Don't trust him.
I was blindsided by the triangle. I was blindsided by it all. And now we're here. And, oh, geez. Okay, we read a whole chunk. We read the entire part, or the second, like, half of the second part. And that's like 30 chapters. That was a lot of chapters. I don't even remember where it starts because I'm so still focused on what happened in the last like 5 chapters, because holy shit, holy hootin' shit. Oh my God.
We started at 21.
Yes,
which I'm trying to find. So if you hear
she had just
pages.
come back, I think, from her first solo fight out on the Han province. She had that moment of peace with the Hundens, and then we open the chapter, she's back, and Xinjiang's like, what the fuck were you thinking? Sorry, what the hoot were you thinking? And then they kind of get into a fight about that.
And she kind of throws it back into his face because he because what is it? He something with the girls. They're able to enlist girls now. As pilots.
They're conscripting the girls. That's right. It's a mandatory for all 18 to 30, as I think what the age range they said, or something like that. Or I don't remember off the top of my head. It's been a couple days and it's been wild. But it's a mandatory conscription, and she's pissed. He's like, well, if you wanted equality, so we're giving you equality.
Right.
But this leads us to then see Zhe-Shan actually, like, finally, like, fully step into the leadership role. She's giving out aid to the people, because there's a super typhoon that breaks the wall. The Hundens break the wall during the super typhoon, and a whole village gets decimated, and then she's, going out, giving out aid. She forms the Phoenix Alliance, a nonprofit sort of organization that is a collection of all, like, the women owned and, like, help resources and networks to basically create a female militia. Which, rock on, I love that. That was such a good series of scenes of her getting the support and her, setting this up and everything.
I also really liked that she kind of multitasked a bit, where she hired the lady who has Shimon's his body parts, like his kidney.
Yeah.
And then while she's with the Phoenix Alliance, she's training to track his I don't want to say his vibe, his spirit
sense.
His spirit sense.
Essentially. She can basically sense this woman who has the kidney anywhere across Chang'an, like the entire city. And she gets very good at it, and she's like, she's starting to feel hopeful about being able to sense Xiran out in the stars. There was something else that came up so we also get a lot of sort of this not anti-punishment. I don't want to say this other rhetoric of the punishments, the executions, all of that is too harsh, and that is fueling the rebellion. And we get the eunuch pilot basically trying to be, he's now tutoring her while Warner and Taiping are studying for exams, because they can take the sage exams essentially now, that restrictions have been lifted from that. So he's teaching her, and he's doing a lot of, not anti-laborist, but definitely more of a, let's chill out on the public executions thing. Let's not make it a spectacle. And also, they've got this whole Red Scare essentially going on, family telling on family. They are afraid to speak up or not speak up. And it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of situation for a lot of citizens. And she's finally starting to kind of realize this. And the entire time I'm reading these chapters, I'm like, oh, this is just spiraling out of control. This is no longer a movement for freedom. It's now a new brand of oppression.
I think we talked about in the last episode, it's just every type of government, every type of ruling looks great on paper, but when put into practice, there's always going to be something wrong with it. There's always going to be extremists and there's so many flaws. And in these chapters, we're definitely seeing the flaws. Definitely going to see, we're starting to see more of a rebellion, right? Because now the leader of the opposition, the head guy,
Zhu Liang, I think. Jesse's not here to yell at us about our pronunciation. I've been calling him Huge Lang.
Yes, so he's like, hey, look, one of the sages survived and is on our side.
That's right. Yeah.
And he was away. I think he was away. What was it?
He was like out in the country. He just happened to be away, like on vacation during the time of the great stomping of the Palace of Sages, right? So he's one of the only sages. Yeah, he's the only sage that survived, and he's on the rebels' side.
And now we hear that they're starting to gain a little bit of traction and gain a little bit, and we kind of see why, right? In the Phoenix Alliance, where that man, the Vanguard man, comes in and he's like, where is she? Where is my wife? I know she's here. Because they take in women that, are leaving or have a hard time or have been abused or whatever. And they're just like, let's hear you out. Okay, like she said that you put your hands on her, and he's just like, she pushed me first. And they're like, okay, well, why did she push you? Well, because I wanted to sleep with her and she wasn't feeling it, and
she wasn't putting out. Those were the exact words. And the full body shiver that came over me, I was like, ugh,
right. And so we see, like, the way that things are going, not that I agree with him, but I can see why people are being enticed by the rebellion, because now women have equality. Women can say no. Women don't have to be subservient. They're now getting positions and involved. And, and yeah, but the great thing is he pushes Zishan and tries to go after another, was it Wana?
I think it was Warner, yeah.
Yeah, tries to go after her, and Zishan just kills him.
Yeah, she lops off his head with her scythe. I found that moment so interesting because, yes, he's making a lot of valid points, right? He's like, well, if this was the opposite, you would listen. And he's doing a lot of the argument of male abuse survivors, right? I say argument, but it's what comes up a lot in arguments when it comes to female versus male abuse and both physical and sexual, right? A woman physically abuses a man and it's seen as a joke, right? It's not taken seriously. You know,
Right.
it's sexual abuse is seen as, oh no, you actually conquered her, whatever. It's you got some, you got laid, that's great. It's seen as like a congratulatory thing, which is a big, you know, in and of itself, big problem. We're not here to discuss specifically this, but it leaves this morally gray moment in the scene, right? Because we don't ever find out the actual truth. We hear her side, we hear his side before they can actually consolidate and find out the actual third side, which is what actually happened. He's dead. He loses his head. They're recording his death, and Warner posts a zoomed in picture of his bleeding out stump of a neck. And it becomes this whole thing, and we never actually find out, you know, was this a good thing, a bad thing? Like it's this moment of uncertainty, right? Where we see Zeshan's like, all right, we got to cut out the part where the audience is clapping, and we got to cut out, you know, this, and we're going to go with the side of the story that, oh, he touched the Empress and it was self-defense, right? They're building up this narrative.
Right, but I don't think we're at a morally gray point, because he admits to forcing himself upon his wife and said, you know, that's when she pushed me away. And then he laid his hands on her.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
But he does have a good point with the whole, well, if it's the other way around once you listen. So that was a good starting point. Like, okay, yeah, let's listen, because we need to get to the bottom of this. So that was right. But he definitely did admit that he forced himself upon his wife.
We are also seeing the theme being repeated of the survivor tells the story. The winners tell you about how history went down, right? This is one of the first explicit instances of it that we get with Zeshan at the center of it. Everything else has been done for her or around her. This is her actively taking charge on that moment. The second comes up a little bit later, and more as her being involved, but not, you know, directly leading it, because we kind of have not talked about the embryonic elephant in the room. That we finally got to the fake pregnancy timeline or storyline. So they're acquiescing to the gods' demands that she become a mother, and they're agreeing that if Zeshan is pregnant, the rebellion has less of a foot to stand on. Their opinions of her will change from she is a divisive, horrible, misleading concubine who is, you know, needling in the emperor's ear and leading them all astray with her sexy wiles. Meanwhile, she is like, I do not want a baby in me. You put a baby in me and I will stab myself in the stomach. Good luck trying after that. And they're like, we can't have you doing that. So the plan is for Zeshan to be fake pregnant. She basically carries around a little pregnancy pouch that she stuffs like pillows in every once in a while to like show the growth of the baby. And only like 3 or 4 other people know about the fake pregnancy. Like not even like Che Lao or Warner or Taiping, and no one except for her, the emperor, Yiji, Sima Yi, and the doctor.
The plan is to have an accident.
Yes.
At a certain point.
Yeah, because it's a well-known fact that all of the concubines that the emperor had in the past have all miscarried. So that's kind of the plan, is a couple months in, they will say that, oh, she miscarried. Horrible loss. And she's very clearly uncomfortable with not only lying about this pregnancy, right? Because a lot of her closest people now, Warner and all them, don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes out into the front when she's giving out aid, and she is getting gifts from the local peasant women who have basically nothing left because of the super typhoon and then the Hunduns that breached the wall. And they're still giving her baby blankets and little booties and toys and whatever they have left. They're trying to give that to her, and they're trying to give her advice for pregnancy and motherhood, and she's very clearly uncomfortable about this. She has zero maternal instinct in her, only a killer's instinct, which is a little opposed to being a mother, I think. But
I think just a little.
Just a little bit. And it's kind of like kept in the background, this fake pregnancy storyline, right? It's there. It's like on occasion, on like every other chapter, we'll get a, oh wait, the baby kind of like thing, or like a mention of someone saying like, oh yes, we're gonna baby you because you clearly, if you can't stand, you can't have a baby, so we gotta help you walk. And then we learn the truth.
The truth.
Where you get your gut instinct satisfied.
Not, a little bit, right?
A little bit, right.
So, it kind of was like, It kind of backs it up, but at the same time, the three of them planned it, right?
It's, okay.
Sima Yi.
Yeah. It's huge. It's a huge betrayal. And so leading up to this,
yes,
which is the other elephant in the room that we kind of forgot, but they're in the dream realm doing some training, or supposedly doing some training, and they're kind of talking, and it's like this romantic moment by the beach where it's like a sunset, and he's like, oh, I've plucked a star out of the sky for you because I can do that here. And they're talking about, and they end up talking about like how the emperor has never once stopped himself from taking what he wants, and then he kisses her, and she's just like blue screens, like but then she sort of goes into it thinking like, oh, if I can get him vulnerable enough to drop his walls in this moment, I can go into his mind and find more ammo against him, because this entire time he's been looking at her longer, he's been like checking up on her, he's been like messaging her more often.
Maggie,
he's acting like a lovesick fool, essentially, and she's just like, I hope not, I hope I'm just, oh, did I freeze? Oh,
you didn't freeze, it's
my
just
Wi-Fi
rubber
dropped.
banding really bad.
Ooh. My Wi-Fi dropped for a hot second. Can you hear me now? Is it better? Oh, I thought you were going to start a second count up. I was waiting for one. 4. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Right, okay. So she's hoping that he'll drop his guards while they're smooching, so she kind of plays into it. And it's a really uncomfortable scene. But that is how she kind of gets into his little mind palace, and she gets snippets of memories from his side, bits about him as a youth, as different people are talking to him, and then she hears Yiji's voice, and they're talking about being able to get a surrogate using her eggs and his imperial contribution, and
as they call it.
Yeah, and she finds out that they have not been giving her birth control. They've been giving her a hormonal shot, and then when she's asleep in the dream realm with him, they put her under anesthesia and stole her eggs and impregnated some random lady who, well, not random, someone who, within their inner circle. They impregnated a woman who agreed to have the emperor's child, and she's got her eggs, his bits, and she's pregnant. And Zishan, rightfully so, is pissed,
Right.
Not only did Yiji lie to her.
If we think about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry. Not only if we think about it, right? So in this day and age, if that happens, surrogate, at any point, unfortunately, you can abandon the child, right? I mean, if you have a surrogate, you're kind of probably paying for it and want it or whatever. Mm-hmm. But in this day and age, a lot of people kind of opt out of, for different situations. Mm-hmm. Even if she didn't want to be a mother, even if she was just like, well, I'm not carrying the baby, so I'm not going to have anything to do with it. These men are going to force her to be a mom. Force her 100%. To have the image of a mother. And so she didn't choose to become a mother. Whether or not a surrogate, is placed, like, they're going to force her into motherhood. And that, that gets to me.
That's so heartbreaking. And she even mentions, like, as far as she's concerned, this baby is the Emperor's and Yiji's, not hers. And
but they're not going to have it be that way.
No, they are not. So she goes and tracks down Yiji that night and confronts him about it, and she's like, this means we can never come back from this, like, ever. And he's like, I know, and I knew. And that it was just the moment where we kind of see him, I think, in his true colors for the first time, because he's not defending himself. He's being cool, calm, and collected. He's known this entire time about this betrayal. Mm-hmm. And it almost feels like he doesn't care. And
I think he does care. And that's why I didn't rejoice and be like, oh, well, I was right. Because it was concocted by the three of them, right?
That's true.
Like, it wasn't solely his decision. And I think we do see, because, like, I don't know. I felt that he was a little bit, kind of upset about losing her trust and everything, and knowing that she found out. But also, like, what if, he wants to be in the favor of the Emperor. So he's that's his first priority.
Yeah.
And that's why I couldn't be like, oh, I knew he was so bad. Because, again, he's doing it for the Emperor. He's doing it for the image. He's doing it to, appease the gods. And, it wasn't just his plan.
I'm also kind of having doubts about, like, whether or not he is fully, bad to the bone. But mostly because at some point during this part, they go and visit Ximen's old apartment complex. They've kind of turned the apartment into a bit of a tourist trap, like, come see the crime scene kind of, like, situation. And it's surreal because the entire time they're there, Xiran is also experiencing what actually happened that night through her memories with Ximen. And they end up having, because Yiji goes with them, and they end up having a small private moment where they're kind of talking about Ximen, and it feels like that's the closest that they have been in ages. This entire story, that's the closest they've kind of been, right? And later on, when they're getting into the chrysalis, and they don't know if they're going to come back, or, like, it's Xiran leaving on her own for the another time, and he sort of, like, hesitates in saying goodbye because they, it seems like he wants to say something, but he can't because there's other people and cameras, and he can't show that kind of connection. So I don't know. I am also still on the fence, but I've also lost a great deal of, like, holding out that hope that he is not actually as bad as we think. And it's a lot of, we don't have the full story yet, I think, about, at least
not yet, not until the end of that part.
Yeah, that's true. Oh my God. Okay, so the rebellions have managed to mutiny with the Azure Dragon and the Whalebird. Goddamn, Whalebird, you have betrayed me. This is the most hurt I've ever felt. But
they have so excited for the Whalebird.
I was so excited. But we they end up joining the rebellion, and they're on Huge Lang's side. And they're basically denouncing, the Empress again and all that. And so Xiran, they have to go out, and they're basically calling out Xinjiang because he hasn't been in the Yellow Dragon since, because the contamination and the pathogens and his immune system. And so as they're kind of like, all right, well, we have to deploy to go take down this mutiny, this coup, and Zishan's like, I have an idea. And she's like, all right, well, Xinjiang can't leave because he's gonna die. So you know what? He's also gonna die if he stays. So she's like, oh, I'm gonna break open your quarantine box unless you let me pilot the Yellow Dragon by myself, and with her eunuch pilot. And eventually he agrees, and they go, and it's this whole moment of her trying to replicate what Xinjiang did with the dragon, and it's sort of like self-healing, and the smaller sub-unit to control and all that. And it's like, it's hard for her, right? She's trained, but she's not fully capable.
Right.
And it's this huge drawn out battle between her and the Azure Dragon and the Whalebird, and they're struggling, and as the Azure Dragon kind of takes them up, and as she's trying to defeat them, she disconnects and goes to jump into the Azure Dragon's cockpit, be like, if you don't stop right now, I'll cut your head off right now, right? And they end up plummeting, and it turns out that the teenage girl that's the yin pilot of the Azure Dragon's not fully into it. She's trying to stop the dragon from falling and plummeting, because they've gone like 30,000 feet in the air. And Xiran makes like the active choice, like, oh, I'm not going to reach out to her because this might be another big-footed Ma thing. Like she might betray me. She might actually be here willingly. So she doesn't try to reach out, and that sort of becomes like the downfall, right? Because she's fighting with the boy, and they end up ejecting themselves from the Azure Dragon's cockpit, and both the Azure Dragon and the subunit from the Yellow Dragon plummet to the ground with both of the co-pilots in there and smash against the mountains. And we sort of find out a little bit that the eunuch pilot probably was dead before she even left the head of the dragon, right?
Right. Once she disconnected from him.
Yeah, and both of them are not going to get any kind of like memorial, because she's a a woman, she's a teenage girl, she was a part of the rebellion. She's not going to get any kind of recognition in the New Order, and no one was supposed to know that it wasn't Xinjiang in the Yellow Dragon with her. That the Emperor was supposed to have been in that dragon with her, and because she was faking his voice and all that.
And so, he was actually dressed up as the Emperor too.
He was
in his armor. Mm-hmm.
So they'll never know that these two people sacrificed themselves, and it's a terrible moment. And Xiran is justifiably furious again, because this teenage boy might be the first child they execute. And along the way, Warner also got arrested because she failed to inform on her mother, who had written a short story that apparently had anti-laborist messages. And so she failed to report on that. And she was also taken into prison for a judgment, right?
I think that's so interesting because she only wrote a short story and shared it with a couple people. It wasn't published. It wasn't this big thing. The people who are arresting her didn't even read it. I would assume someone reported on her because they were one of the ones who read it, and they just came and arrested her.
Yeah.
And and honestly, Warner, they ask her, did your mom write this short story? And she goes, I think so. And that's enough to get her arrested. Like, I think she did. Like, not even like, yes, she did, or yeah, I read it. It's, I think she did. And bam, arrested for not reporting. And that's just,
this is the first moment where it's kind of become personal for her. In her eunuch pilot's been trying to talk to her about how this is tyranny, how this is, it's just another oppression, but dressed up in laborist practices. And this is the first time where she's finally like seeing it face to face. Because before she was like, there's only so much that we can do right now. And we're still trying to do the revolution. The rebels are blowing up supply lines and bombing hospitals and whatever, and being general menaces, that she's just pulled in too many directions and she can't focus on any one thing. So she at that point runs to Sima Yi's office because she, in a final desperate bid, decides that she's basically going to tweet, the gods aren't real, the Hundans are our native species, we all have been lied to, except the gods intervene and they're like, no, this is not what we agreed to. And they unleash a mother who in F-bomb that would put the atomic bomb to shame, because we find out the Emperor doesn't actually have a shitty immune system. That this was a plot by Yi Ji and the Doctor to make him believe he can't survive, contact with germs, so that he has to be forced into quarantine.
You can't see my face, but I am so gloating.
Oh my god. It's just, I don't even know how to process this information.
I feel vindicated.
And you very rightly should, honestly. Because this is another, layer of the Yi Ji super secretive dark side that we don't fully know.
It's the underground in him.
Oh god.
It's the mob boss.
Yes. And the thing that really struck me was after she found out about the whole egg thing, and she's in the underground tunnels with Taiping and Wanner because they're doing calculations to shoot for the moon and reach the right velocity to survive the taking the yellow dragon into space.
I like how you said shoot. I like how you said shoot for the moon, and my first thought was and land among the stars.
Yeah, essentially, exactly that. And so she's in the underground after the whole truth of the pregnancy kind of comes to light, and she's talking to Taiping, and Taiping's like, "I'm not surprised that that's something that my brother would do." She is. And she drops the best line. She's like, "I've always been disappointed by men. I'm no longer shocked by it." And we do, I think at that point, get confirmation about her and Wanner, and then all the queer clubs, and how she wants to take the Empress out one day in disguise to one of the queer clubs. Not the point here, though. All right, so we have Taiping, who is not shocked or surprised by Yi Ji's betrayal. And I am just... I know we kind of talked about you being a little vindicated by all the reveals in this part. But there is just so much that is now up in the air because of this.
Yes.
Because I just don't... I personally wanted to believe that he was still, good and not a jerk face who will betray anyone to get what he wants. But I am so intrigued to see how this all progresses. Now that we know that he not only betrayed Zishan, he also betrayed the Emperor, and he's now on the Emperor's shit list. And how this is going to affect the journey to the moon. or the stars, I guess technically, the heavenly court.
Right. Yeah, I tried so hard to trust him. I really did. But again, there was just something in my gut that was just like, don't fully trust him, right? And now I'm so interested to see what else he's a part of that we don't know about. What else he had schemed. If he is the one that is like kind of like a triple agent where he's the one giving the rebels the information and the footage and giving them the ammunition to come after the emperor, and what else he's, you know, got up his sleeves, like, because yes, I was vindicated, and yes, I was so excited to be right, but at the same time, it's also just like, holy crap, like, what else is he a part of? Like, that's what I really want to know.
And I want to know, what is his end game? Like, is he doing this just for himself and for power and money? Or is he actually doing this for Zishan? Or is he kind of white knighting it a little bit? It gets, it's, I forget if it is, who tells her this, but it's sort of like, because Zishan gets told that Yiji is doing this because he wants to feel the savior. He wants to be able to come in and feel like he did good. He fixed things. He made Zishan, you know, he pulled her from the soil and made her shine like a diamond. And how much of it is him white knighting and how much of it is him actually caring for her? Because now all of the things that he has done and said to her is thrown into question. We don't know his motives anymore. And Zishan is a very, I don't want to say unreliable narrator, because she kind of is, in that she doesn't know what's going on. And she is blindsided by this truth as well. Because she, you know, she's also trying to trust Yiji, and she is held back by the fact that every man in her life has sort of hurt her and betrayed her and taken her for granted and used her as a tool, right? And part of me wanted to believe that he's still, you know, is a good guy. He's still a solid, you know, third of the triangle. But he's not. He wasn't. He has lied to all of us. He has pulled the wool over Zishan and the reader's eyes, except for you, Katie, because you saw clear through it. But man, I do not know how we can escalate from here, because I feel like we are hitting a fever point in the narrative. Like, we are getting to a high tension point. I am, and we still gotta go to space. We're still going to space after this somehow, and
right, and I'm really excited to see where that goes. But I was, and now it's just like my focus has shifted, right? So I was really excited to see what happens with the Heavenly Court, and then this was, you know, revealed, and now I'm like, oh no. Now I need to know more about Itze. You know, like, I need to know more about him, and I need to know, again, is he running the underground? Is he a narcissist and just telling Zishan he's doing this all for her? And in reality, it's just like a ploy to be like, oh, no. You see, like, I didn't betray you. I'm helping you, you know, because he wouldn't have done that whole baby thing if he was trying to help her, right? He wouldn't be pushing her to be with the emperor and, you know, just for her, right? Because he, in quotes, loves her. So the best thing to do would be what's best for her, and it would be to be with him if they really loved each other. But so now I just need to know where his plotting has gotten us, you know, and his scheming. And now I don't even care about the Heavenly Court. Like, I do, but like
right.
I do, but this is just totally like threw me like a, you know, like a, oh my gosh, I can't even think. But like it just threw me to a completely different focus.
Right. This entire time that we're reading this part, I'm like, okay, but where's the pegging coming in? Because we were promised pegging. And now we need
same thought.
And now that we know that the Emperor isn't bound, 'cause this entire time I was like, okay, it's going to happen in the dream where she has a bit more control over stuff, and we've already had like one sex dream shared between the two of them, and now that we know that he can leave quarantine and not immediately explode into a million pathogens, I'm now even more intrigued about when the pegging amendment comes up.
Right. I was thinking that reading that the whole time. I was like, wasn't there supposed to be a pegging scene?
Yeah.
Like I thought there'd be like a little bit more spice to this book. But
I can't remember what page exactly it's supposed to happen, and I don't want to look it up just in case
spoilers.
I get spoilers, yeah. But regardless, I'm very excited for the next part. I feel like the only way that we're going to top this is if we get face to face with the gods in the next part. If they actually make the journey, or at least at the very least they make it into the stratosphere, and on their way there. I really want more Ximin in the next few chapters. I want to see, because we had the moment where they're in the dream, and she believes that she's waking up in an apartment with Ximin and Yi, and Ximin punches the Emperor in the face. And he is shocked and surprised. And that's making me think that he is still aware and conscious and can connect with Zeshan at the very least, while he's in this suspended state of animation and life-death, his tube of whatever he needs to stay alive.
I think we saw that though with when they visit his house. We see that the connection's still there. We see that he's still giving her memories. We still see that they are connected in a way. So I do believe that, because they even the gods, the heavenly court showed her that he is alive. They woke him up. So he is, not alive and well, but he's alive.
I at the very least just want to see more from that connection, right? I want to see them actually talk. I want to know like how he's doing and what their first like meeting is going to be again. And I'm very excited for this next part.
I know. I am also excited, to see where this whole plot line with his goes, but also reuniting with hopefully Ximin and the Heavenly Court and everything. But what I also want to see is like, I want Zeshan to stop being like bounced around, right? Like, she has had, I don't want to say to please men, right? Like, it wasn't like, but she's been paired with, like, I don't want to say against her will, but she has been paired against her will with multiple men just because, she claimed to be the Empress, and to kind of, now she has to be with the Emperor. And it's just like, I just want one thing to go right for her. Just one. Right. I just, like, it doesn't even have to be like a huge happy ending for me. I just want her to find some solace in at least one thing. Because I know that this whole, I don't want to say using her body, but like, it's trying to, it's trying to say like, hey, sex isn't, I don't want to say special, but it's common, right? Everyone has sex. Well, not everyone has sex, but there's it's not something to be ashamed of, and it is empowering for some, and it's okay to feel empowered and to use your body how you want, and you shouldn't feel ashamed of that. But I just want her to stop using her body just so she can get a little bit of solace and get her way. Like, just give her way. Like, just give her one thing.
I want to see her dancing at the queer club. That's just
Yes.
Pink Pony Club going on. She's just dropping it low. Raves, lights, music, just want to see her swallow a jelly shot off of Warner's stomach, apparently, because that's a thing she's done. Oh God, I'm so excited now. I am pumped and ready, and I am not ready actually for whatever's going to come next, because we know that this is not the end of the series just yet. So we're not getting anywhere close to a relatively happy ending. We're just going to end up with more yearning for the story.
And I think it's still going to be action packed. Like, I think I don't think we're going to fully get rid of the politics. But I think this part is probably going to move away from politics a little bit more and go a little bit more action.
Yeah, for sure.
That would be my prediction.
I sure hope so. We've got, 200 pages left?
Roughly.
Something like that. I'm so excited.
That's a wrap on this episode of Booked All Night. We'd love for you to be a part of the conversation, so don't forget to rate the show, drop a comment, and share your thoughts in the episode poll. And remember, subscribing means you'll never miss an episode or interview as we launch into more amazing stories together. Booked All Night is produced by Rob Cook and his cats. So when you share your favorite episode, be sure to tag us at Booked All Night Pod on Threads, Instagram, and Facebook, and say hi to our guy in the sound booth. For more information, like reading schedules and dates on our upcoming interviews, check out the link in the show notes. That's link.bio/bookedallnight. lnk.bio/bookedallnight for those of you who don't check the show notes. Until next time, my little Libernauts, this is Jessica Mary, Kay Leigh, Magdalyn Ann, and producer Rob signing off and reminding you to stay booked all night.